my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and today I'm going to be working out. Okay, so I'm not actually going to be working out in this video. However, when I take the thumbnail, lifting all of these books for that photo, that's gonna be a workout. If you hadn't guessed, we are doing a haul. So I do periodic hauls. I don't do them every month. I would love to. I would love to have that many books coming in at me to be able to make hauls, because hauls get lots of views and it's fantastic. I feel really good about myself after posting a haul, especially since it has all of the pretty books that I bought. However, I'm trying to pay off debt and all of that good stuff, so I'm not getting as many books. I'm getting a little bit more now that we've been in quarantine because going to my library isn't an option, but I still have to be careful about how many books I get. That all to say, I have a whole bunch of books for what I got in March, April, May, and June. I almost put my July books in here because technically I ordered them in June, but like they came so late in July that I was like, okay, fine. I guess I can't really use them for June. I'm gonna start out with the books that I got for free. I had two lovely people give me books. They just said, Margaret needs to have a good day today, and they sent me books. And I'm very, very grateful. The first one that I got was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I love this book. This is not the last time you will see Talia Hibbert on this list, but I read this and it was so good and delightful and made me feel less alone on Valentine's Day. So I was really happy to have read it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and Desiree over at Libra sent me this book. The other one I got was Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I love Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and to some extent the Grishaverse, but I question some of my feelings about it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Grishaverse, because Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom were such a glow up from the first series. I just, like, boggles my mind how, like, the Grishaverse was good, but it boggles my mind how much better the Six of Crows was. This is a set of fairy tales that are set in the Grishaverse that Leigh Bardugo wrote. It is gorgeous. I love, look at this, look at the, it's so pretty. It also has these fantastic illustrations. This, if I remember correctly, because someone was dumb and didn't save the note. This is from Elise over at Elise Reads and Speaks. Thank you so much. It was fantastic that you got me these books, and it made my day. I got these books from the little free library that is down the street from me. I have checked back. They literally had, like, well, we'll go into it. One of them is The Trials of Apollo, The Hidden Oracle by Rick Riordan. This is about Apollo. He has been cursed by his father. No, Zeus is mad at him because of the stuff that happened in this series, the Heroes of Olympus series, my favorite series of all time, but I can't remember the name. He's mad, so he decides that he's going to curse Apollo and make him live on Earth as a human because he's mad at him. And so they had all of Rick, like literally all of Rick Riordan's, like, Heroes of Olympus and, like, Kane Chronicles. I already owned most of the ones that were in there, so I was like, I just need this one, so I stole it. I did go and I was on a walk, so I just took these books, but I did go put books back. The other two that I got from the little free library were The Heart of Betrayal and The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson. I loved The Kiss of Deception. Like, that book rocked my world. It shocked me. It made me go, I was not being a good reader because I should have been paying attention to this, and I totally missed it. She did that twist so well. The series is about a girl whose name I don't remember because I read it last year. I could probably just, look. Leah! Her name is Leah. And she is a princess, and she ends up being betrothed to a prince in a neighboring kingdom, and she's like, I don't like this idea. I don't know this dude. I don't want to marry this dude. Yada, yada, yada. And so she just kind of like, peace out, and leaves for some city in the coast where she is just going to not be a princess anymore. And the prince follows her, basically, is what happens. And that seems kind of creepy. It's not as creepy as it could have been. I mean, there is some creepy stuff that is involved, but it's not his fault. I really liked that book, so I cannot wait to see where they go in books 2 and 3, and they just so happen to have this in my little free library. The next thing I want to talk about are some book box books that I have. I do want to mention that I'm gonna, like, it's gonna be obvious, well, at least where one of them is from, but I have actually cut ties with these two book box companies. If you want to know why I have cut ties with Let Joy Create and privated all of my videos, I will have the thread I made on it linked down below, as well as the thread of Brody, who was the first person who brought it to my attention. They have a thread that they go into detail on it. But the way they reacted to this situation and the tone policing that happened. I just don't want to support people who feel like that's okay, and who are not, who are more interested in appearances than actually, like, engaging with what they did wrong. So I have no idea what any of these books are about. Well, never mind. I know what 3 of them are about. The other one, I just was like, you know what? If I'm going to support a book box when I have the money to support a book box again, I'd rather it be one that is a little more diverse. The first book that I have to talk about is The Fascinators by Andrew Eliopoulos. That sounds like a Greek name. So basically, this is about a small town group of friends, and magic is forbidden, and then this new guy moves into town, and the main character, he doesn't know if he's got a crush on this guy, but this guy also has a crush on the girl at church, I think it said? Yeah, this looks like it's going to have a love triangle, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I am going to read it because I do think that it sounds like an interesting book, and there's a lot of different things going on between the small town and the magic, and things are happening that ending the world or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how high the stakes are, but they seem pretty high, or I remember them being pretty high. The next book that I have is Night Spinner by Addie Thorley. Look at this cover. It is gorgeous. Oh my goodness, it is so pretty. Is there anything? Nah, not really anything under the cover, but that's fine. That happens. That's normal. It is about a girl who has kind of a forbidden and dangerous magic, and it's gotten her, like, she's not really liked because it's gotten her a reputation as, like, a murderer and a destroyer. In order to either save herself or rescue her reputation, she gets hired to capture a thief or a criminal or something. And yeah, it goes from there. It sounds like there might be feelings. You know how I like it when that happens. The next one I have is The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. It's a dual timeline book where she makes a choice at some point and goes out. I think she goes out with a dude, or maybe I'm thinking of a completely different book, but she goes out with a dude in one timeline and she doesn't in the other, and it's a kind of comparing and contrasting those two timelines. It sounds interesting, and it sounds like something that I would enjoy. The next 2 books are Jessie from Bow Ties and Books' fault, but I had 2 credits, and I figured I wanted to use those before I canceled my Book of the Month Club membership, and so I figured why not do these, because I've heard such good things about them. One of them is Dominicana by Angie Cruz. It is about a girl who's 15 and she moves to the United States, to New York, by getting married to someone who is much older, and it's going to be going into, like, identity and her experience as an immigrant. Oh, that's right, she wants to leave, and then somebody else convinces her to stay. So I'm not sure if this is going to be something that is my speed, because, you know, I like happy books with romance. I'm not sure there's going to be romance in this, but it still sounds like a good book, and a book that should be read, like I need to read, because it exposes me to things that I may be ignorant of. The other one is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This is about 2 sisters. They're twins. One of them passes for white, like chooses to pass for white. I think they both could be, but she specifically chooses to pass for white. It sounds like it's going into their lives and comparing their experiences, one of them living as black and one of them living as white. I'm interested. I've heard fantastic things from everyone that I have seen or read this, so I'm ready for it. And this is historical fiction, so it kind of hits that place where I'm okay if maybe it's not as happy as I like books being. Speaking of other books that I've heard fantastic things about and I'm anticipating, these are all books that I just bought. Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. I'm ready for this book so much. I didn't get this until like halfway through July. It didn't come in, so I wasn't able to put it on my July TBR. And I'm that person that I want to finish that TBR before I can start new ones. And I'm just not like, I want to read it so badly, and if I hear one more person say good things about it, I might just throw out the entire TBR, like, whatever. But we're also towards the end of July, so I might as well finish it. This is the sequel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's about her sister Dani, and Dani and this guy, Zaf, end up trapped in an elevator. No, she ends up trapped in an elevator. He's a firefighter, I think? No. Somehow he ends up rescuing her from this elevator, and he ends up rescuing her, like, carrying her bridal style, and it gets a lot of publicity, and they're both like, he's like, I can use this for my, like, kids, it's some sort of, like, Big Brother, Big Sister program that he is doing to help kids or boys learn to deal with their emotions and learn to be okay with their emotions, and so I'm ready to read it. I've heard that he is the biggest, sweetest cinnamon roll, and I am such a sucker for cinnamon roll boys and men. I just am. I love them so much, and to have one that's actually my age that I can be like, ooh, yes, I'd marry you. Yeah, this is gonna be exciting for me. I also got I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. I've been following her on Twitter for a while, and this is the first time, like, I got her book from the library, and then I was like, you know what? It is a short book. I already know I like what she says on Twitter, so I'm just going to buy this. So I did. I bought it. I am going to read it soon, I hope. I also got Native Identity, Belonging, and Rediscovering God by Caitlin B. Curtis. I am currently working through Glory Happening by Caitlin B. Curtis, and I love it. I'm like, it's so funny because it's taught me so many lessons, not just about like my faith, because she is a Native American Christian, but it's also taught me lessons about how I don't have to take something away every time I sit down to engage with a book about faith. That I don't have, like it's okay if things don't always click the first time I read it, and I've always felt kind of guilty about the fact that, like, people will read books and they're like, oh my gosh, and like talk about everything they got away from it, and I'll just be like, this particular one was just like, for the most part, it was a book for me. And so I'm really, really interested in, this is specifically about her journey as a Native American Christian, and kind of grappling with that. I realize now that all of my anti-racist books are all grouped together. That's just how it happened. Speaking of anti-racist books, I have How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This is one that has been on my radar for a while, and one that I've been wanting to read for a while. I have not been able to get it from the library, and because we were in quarantine and I was looking to buy books, I finally got a job and had some extra money. I went ahead and I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy it. I'm just gonna buy it. So that's how I got this. This is just him talking about anti-racism as a concept and kind of giving you a basis for where to start, from what I've heard. Like, it's not somewhere like you read this book and all of a sudden you are definitely anti-racist. It's more like, hey, if you're looking for a place to start, go ahead, start here. We're running out of room, guys. The next one is a book that I highly encourage, like, everyone to read, but especially white people, and that is White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide. This is by Carol Anderson. It is a very, like, fact-heavy, history-heavy book. I learned things. I found it when I was actually borrowing One Person, One Vote from my library, because I still plan on reading that. But I got this one, and I just sat down to read it first because I was doing the Blackout Buddy read. It was good. It was not good. It was good. She just sits down and brings fact after fact, breaks down so many things about why race is viewed the way it is in our country, and how the things that have been put into policy and put into law, how they affect people, what their purpose was originally. I found it so helpful and useful to me that I went out and bought it. I was like, this is what I want on my shelf. As part of the Blackout Buddy read, I also got Right Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. From what I understand, this is more of like a really basic starting point, so if I had been able to get it from my library, I would have just gotten it from my library, but my library, like, everyone was reading this at the time. I feel like a lot of this is going to be stuff that I already know and I'm aware of, because from what I understand, it is very, very basic. But it was still part of the buddy read, so I bought it for the buddy read, and then it didn't come in until like 3 weeks after the buddy read. That's not, you know, whatever. I'm still going to read it because it's on my shelf. We'll see if I keep it, but I'm hoping that it will maybe give me some stuff to work with people who are less, not experienced, but who are newer to this whole anti-racism thing than I am, because it's been, like, a lot of this stuff is stuff that I have been trying to educate myself about for a couple of years at this point. I also bought Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo-Lodge. I read this back in May, I want to say, is when I read it. It took me a while because it is very, very dense, but it is about racism and anti-blackness in Great Britain, and it was really, really interesting to read it and see the parallels and the things that, like, how Britain were doing kind of the same things, but we're doing them in different ways. It is specifically written by this black woman to other black people, trying to, she said it was kind of trying to give them an idea of a history that's not talked about, a history that she didn't even know about until she started digging into articles and doing, I think it was a thesis or something for school. I found this to be a book that made me sit back and, like, think of things, and it really was interesting to see the parallels between this, and then I went and read White Rage and see the parallels there. Okay, y'all, we're almost done here. I got Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I am really enjoying these Everyman's Library books, so I wanted to get all of the Jane Austen books in this particular thing. I just like the setup. I like the design of them. I like that they have enough room in the margins for me to like make my notes and stuff. So yes, work with me here. There we go. Yes, I really enjoyed this. I love Pride and Prejudice. I finished rereading it. I really want everything Pride and Prejudice right now. It's Pride and Prejudice. I'm not going to explain it. If you know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, you're probably not interested in it anyways. The next book is I Can Make This Promise by Christine Day. It is about Edie, a young Native American girl. Her mother was adopted by a white family when she was a baby, and so her mom doesn't really, like, Edie has no idea what her tribe is, like the connection. She doesn't know any of her family from that side of the family, and she thinks that there's no way to get in touch with them at the beginning of this book. However, very early on, she and her friends are digging around in the attic, and they find a box full of letters and pictures, and in these pictures are a woman who looks a lot like Edie, and so Edie starts to question, have my parents been telling me the truth this entire time? I loved this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was such a good book. I think this is the first time we've had a Vault-a-thon book that everyone thought was amazing. Like, we were all like, we love this book. That was basically the whole live show. Not really. We talked about stuff. I will be doing a full review on this at some point soon. Another book that I need to get to and read is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book of the Lost Hours series. Does it tell you? I think it's the Lost Hours series. Who knows? At this point, there are so many Cassandra Clare series, and I'm trash for all of them. I cannot wait to start reading this book because it's about the kids of quite possibly maybe my favorite Shadowhunters couple ever. I'm not entirely sure about that one. It's up for debate. Oh, because City of Bones, that series just has a place in my heart because of when I read it and the fact that I loved it so much, but also The Infernal Devices is my favorite series that she has written. And I'm ready for what is going to be. I'm like not even going into this for the main characters. I'm going into this because I know that this couple, they're adults and they have children, and I'm like, I'm ready to see them as parents. It's a weird place to be in life when you're reading YA novels to see the parents. No, wait, I've always been like that. I've always been like, yes, I want to see them in the future. I need to read it or my friend Christine is going to probably murder me. And the final, this might be my favorite thing of the year, and it is, anyways, the final thing, I'm just going to talk about all 3 of them at once. I got the first 3 books in the Expanse series. My brother made me start watching this in December. I was always planning on watching the show, but I hadn't, and like reading the book, but I hadn't. And then I did my reading, I'm not going to hold up all of those, I'm just going to hold up the first one. I did my reading favorites from small booktubers video, the second one, and this was one of the books, or this is a book that Thomas from SFF 180 recommended, and so I was like, you know what, I've been meaning to read it, we're going to pick it up. Guys, when I say I am trash, and this is the peak Margaret moment, because I picked up this fantastic, really well done science fiction novel that I haven't told you anything about. Who cares? Because I'm gonna tell you the most important thing about it is that it has the best ship I have had experience with all year. Like my new favorite ship. That was my takeaway, is the romance in this, which is not really a huge part of the plot, is my new favorite romance. That's not the most Margaret thing you have ever heard me say. So we're in the future. Mars has been colonized. There are people out in the asteroid belt. They've made colonies out there basically to get resources and stuff. And so there's this huge kind of conflict, not like tension between Mars and Earth and the belt. And the Belters are looked down on and all of this stuff. That's the setup. And then in comes this warship or stealth ship, and nobody knows where it came from, but it comes and it basically blows up this ice hauler that is out there harvesting ice that has gone to see a distress beacon. And the only people who survived this tragedy are the 5 members of the crew that had gone out to check the distress signal. On the other side, you have a detective who lives on Ceres, which is one of the asteroids, the moons. I'm not entirely sure where Ceres fits. It sounds like it would probably be somewhere around Jupiter. He's been hired to find the daughter of a really rich dude who has kind of disappeared. and he starts to find out that she kind of is maybe involved in some questionable, shady stuff. At least they want you to think it's questionable and shady, but you know. Anyways, so it is fantastic. It is one of the best written science fiction novels that I have ever read. It is so accessible, the way that he goes in, like the way he balances the plot and the world building. I'm just like, how? It also has one of the best written female characters that I have ever seen a man write. At least in my opinion. Like, she is so badass. I love her so much. I would like to be her, because she's so smart. And then you get into Caliban's War, and you get my other two favorite characters, who are also amazing badass women. So anyways, I'm obsessed with the show. I'm obsessed with the series. I've read the first two books, gave both of them 5 stars because it just makes me so happy, and I love it so much, and the world is so complex, and like, they just do such a good job in this series. I also love how diverse this is, because even though it is, I'm not sure how well the diversity is done for something that's written by a white person. I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're actually fulfilling the bare minimum of representation. One of the things I love about the show is the hugely diverse cast, and the fact that so many issues, like, you can tell that it is a man of color behind who is directing everything. So those are all the books that I have bought over the last couple of months. Let me know down in the comments whether or not you have read any of these books, what you thought of them. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I will have other videos over here. You might enjoy those as well. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!